Peace and chicken grease. Now, I just watched the Dave Chappelle closer, and it's some shit you probably didn't know. Or you probably didn't catch. But nothing goes over my head. I moss the fuck out of it. So, I'm going to go over Dave Chappelle closer, the things that were said, the things that were not said, and the things that might have went over your head. This and more. Stay tuned. I do what I do. So let's start off with the last special on Netflix. This was the last one, right? Out of this one, he wanted to culminate everything, bring it all together. What'd he do? He went back in the bag, and it wasn't like he was rewatching his old specials to come up with material for its closer. It was an overarching idea. What does that mean? Overarching. From start to finish, that arch could circle back if it's just flipped on its axis. Shoom shoom. I got this pen because I actually did research. I did work. I wrote things down. What else did I do? Nothing. So anyway, I did some work. The work that I did was small indeed, but the concept that he had were of acceptance and also of bigotry, idolatry, all the other trees, marijuana, columbiota, and the mess. So as we go about it, we hear, peppering, all of this stuff, and we go to our first point I have written down because I was getting lost, slightly lost in what I was just talking about. But we're here now with number one. I just wrote that down because they're not labeled. Random collages of things written on a page in spaces, no numbers. Number one, poor whites. Poor whites. Now, this sentiment of poor whites speaks of volumes. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the pump up the pump up the pump up. It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight. As I'll stop looking at myself, I'll get back to this lecture. If you can call it that. But why is it so important to talk about poor whites? Because rich whites have the leverage, the upper hand, the creme de la creme, the apex of, American society, right? Poor whites, on the other hand, they have to struggle in the mud like everybody else. But this land is our land. This land is not your land. This shit is for me, motherfucker. Is the sentiment of poor whites. So they make it harder for everybody else. And when I say make it harder, I mean people like the KKK, skinheads, neo-Nazis, these people who are trailer trash, that really have been indoctrinated into a hate-filled rhetoric, that they usually act on, in some kind of malicious way. So when he talked about the poor whites, he's talking about those who are the the cancer of society. You know what I mean? Um, People with money have the ability to have options. People without money lack those options, and because of that, they're outraged or whatever, right? So, um, when you talk about poor whites, you're talking about those who have limited options, feel somewhat trapped, and want to lash out. You know what I mean? So they're the most dangerous, and because of that, we have to see that group as a outlier or a red line um, to kind of look at their intentions and things like that, because they are known to be swayed by anybody with a little money and an agenda. Hmm. Somebody say yes. All right. So we'll come back to it, or we might go from it. Whatever. I just wrote number 2 on there on the paper. He talked about trans with a Z, because that's what niggas do. Trans. These people are making jokes about it. He has an hilarious joke about um, if you can be transgendered, well, I can be transracial, and I can be transaged. So it's really about the fallacies in the world that you can just be whatever you want to be, where for black people, we're always boxed into the one thing. Everybody else is transforming, butterflying, you know what I mean? But black people are boxed in. We're just boxed in. So we get this propaganda or this rhetoric on who we're supposed to be until we start becoming it, right? It's I'm only going to show you the negative, and then all of a sudden you start acting out that negative plot. So the trans really goes into the freedom for everybody else and the restrictions of black people. Um, so he doesn't really say that. It was more eloquent in saying that, you know, how trans people are received. He had the line when they were talking about the ride, everybody in the car, and white man gay is driving, um, and then the lesbian woman in the passenger seat, uh, bisexual in the back with the trans, and they would get farther if the trans weren't with them, but they got to take them with them, right? So it's some very very detailed plots and kind of elaborate schemes that he performs in these specials that really tickle your brain into imagining the type of environment that he's speaking about, um, because it could be real or imagined. You know what I mean? Like as far as the the ride, he was in the car, and you was in the car too with him, right? You was like, oh, okay, I can see the car, I can see him moving, I can see if they had issues. Why would those issues arrive? Okay, and then On this special, the closer, he talked about him being in the bathroom and a trans woman coming in there and pulling out a dick. Sorry, lady, this is a bathroom. This is a men's restroom. Kaboom! Oh, wow! I wasn't ready for that. But that's how he would take it in his reality, and he brings you along with him. Um, and the ability to, just all of a sudden have the ability to do whatever, where black people have been boxed in so much. It's that um, kind of an oxymoron, that you can be a woman but you're still black. Like you can change your gender, but you can't change your race. And that type of idea, I guess, is what he was really looking to project. Okay. Okay. Seen something? Read something real quick. Alright, stop looking at my cleavage, bitch. Alright. So the third point, is space Jews. Space Jews. This is directly related to the Google space science fiction movie from 19 whatever or 2000 whatever, and it comes up space niggas, right? Definitely a title with offensive verbiage in it. It had a token Negro in there, maybe two. They were homosexual, and I think when I read the plot of the film, they were homosexual men in hopes of getting into some space booty. But the point he was making is, if it said space Jews, then it would have never been released. They would have never gone to publishing. They would have never made the film. It would have been shut down at the forefront. So, what type of respect do we have in this country where they can make something that has offensive language in it for an entire quote unquote race of people? They would never do that with space. It would have never happened if it was Jew instead of nigga. Never would have happened. So he's saying space Jews, as in space niggas, and showing that how America accepts the denigration and degradation of a large minority in its population. How it allows for, still to this day, the dehumanization or putting a second class population out. So he was definitely saying that space Jews is the space niggas that would have never happened. Trans, they can just do whatever. There are infinite possibilities. You can just do whatever, but black people still in the box. And poor whites are the dynamite in the box with us. So, and when you're below the poverty line, there are violence, you know, robberies and everything else because of the economic situation. And poor whites are basically at the helm of that because they are the dynamite. They're not um, creating economic depression, no, but they are uh, the militia of an uprising of white supremacy. You know, they think that they're better just because of their race. They have no um, success through their family lineage, so they're left to wonder why. And then they start pointing fingers, and those fingers start wrapping around triggers. So, yeah, poor whites. Definitely the most important things they wanted to talk about. And then trans having the ability to be white and say, hey, I don't even have to, I can strip gender off of the list. Space Jews, I can guarantee they will never have a Space Jew movie. But they had space niggas. Niggas in outer space. So, that's my synopsis on the Dave Chappelle closer. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Got a little serious there, didn't I? I used some words that I shouldn't have. But I got a coin purse. And every now and again I'll get 50-cent words out of them. But I'll leave you with that. Till next time, motherfuckers be great. And be great at it. Peace.